This is a test of the boundary part alert system. Right, we're recording. So, just finished topping up my Guinness. Yeah, so I've got Andy, who is now becoming a bit of a show regular down in London. And
Gazapalooza.
I've just checked with Gaz. Appalooza is not your real surname. You're not Mexican.
No, unfortunately not. That's it's a name of my stag do that's just stuck with me. That's my Facebook alias.
Fair enough. Is it the only thing about your stag do that stuck with you, or is there anything else?
It's the only thing I can remember. It was actually the Chelsea Munich Champions League final in Munich when Chelsea won.
Very good. I was thinking more along the lines of, like dodgy tattoos or something like that, but
well, if I've got them in parts of my body, I can't.
you can't access.
Yeah.
So guys, you sent me a message on Twitter a while back, didn't you? Saying that you'd be up for coming on the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, so messages
enjoyed listening so far.
Yeah, I thought I'd see you come on, and it was going to go one of either ways today. It was a difficult one to call, wasn't it? We've come off the back of Tranmere on Tuesday, which we looked like we'd only just started playing together. And then today, against Cambridge, for me, most professional performance of the season. I thought they were superb today. So at home, we're relegation fodder, and away, we're promotion fodder. Can anyone fill me in with any kind of enlightenment on that? I can't quite figure it out myself.
I don't know. I mean, I think set up against us when we were away from home suits us more. I'm going back to the Tranmere game. I sound like a bit of a happy clapper, but I don't think it was necessarily that bad. I just thought Tranmere old man does. They allowed us to have the ball. There was someone on Twitter uploaded like the pass stats or the pitch territory for each player, and we was allowed to have the ball, and we were spreading it wide a hell of a lot, but there were very few crosses going into the box. And I just think once Tranmere got that goal, we were just devoid of ideas, weren't we? Danny Rowe, for his frame and size, he's not a target man for me. I'd have dropped him a lot deeper in that game against Tranmere on Tuesday to see if he could get his foot on the ball and dictate it for us. But away from home, I think just the way we're expected to play, because the way... Did you not think Cambridge today looked a little bit like how we looked on Tuesday at home?
Yeah.
They just couldn't get through us.
I thought they were quite weak in the middle of the park, Cambridge.
Yeah. And that's exactly what was everyone saying on Tuesday? Oldham are weak in the park. We need McCann. Since this restart, it's suiting away teams. And I don't think we're any different there. I think a lot of teams are struggling at home. But I think definitely, obviously, when the lineup came out today, I was surprised. Rowe not coming on. I definitely think, the home form's been a problem for 25 years, hasn't it? It was blamed on the fans, but the fans are there. They've not been there for the past 6 months. It's not got any better. So I don't know what it is with the home form. We need a flaming shrink going in there to see if we can do something.
Every team in this division has got its faults, hasn't it? There's no perfect teams in this division. They've all got a weak area. They might be weak at the back. They might be weak in midfield. They might be weak up top, whatever. So, like when we played Tranmere, our midfield weakness was exposed, and the frustrating thing was that we couldn't switch to a plan B or anything. We just kept trying the same things over and over, and it just didn't get us anywhere, and it was very frustrating. Obviously, like you said today, Cambridge they didn't have much of a midfield going on either, so that didn't really affect us. So it was very end-to-end, wasn't it? It was very much a counter-attacking kind of game, but Cambridge just didn't have the teeth up front. It was weird, because like Tuesday against Tranmere, it was one of those games that you just knew that we weren't going to get anything. You could feel it from that game. It's like, this is going. And today was the opposite. I said that at half-time. I thought we were going to nick it 1-0. Because I just got,
I saw you tweet that.
I had a feeling about that we were going to win this game, and sometimes you just get a feeling, don't you?
I didn't watch Tuesday's game. I listened to it. Well, obviously I watched today's. No one was coming on here, so I was thinking we might put in a performance against Tranmere, but we got bossed by the sounds of it. And you look at the lineup: Peter Clark at centre half, 39 or whatever he is. Jay Spearing in centre midfield and James Vaughan up front as that nice spine of experience that got them through that game. But then you look at Tranmere's result today, they got walloped 3-1 at home against Walsall.
Yeah.
And then we're abject at home against Tranmere, and they look like they've got the experience to get them through this. That they were on a good run of form before they got beat by Walsall today. Cambridge were up at the top at the start of the season. They must have had something about them then. Can't buy a win in the last month, and they looked weak. When our midfield of a combination of whoever it is, Garrity, McCalmont, Whelan, they're all quite weak, aren't they? They're all young boys. Some of them got good technique, but they get overrun at times.
Yeah, they're not there yet, are they?
And they didn't get overrun today. I thought the midfield looked quite comfortable. Calmont, I thought, had a really good game.
Yeah.
So he's just like you said, it's just the most. I guess it's League Two football. It's just I cannot predict when we're going to play well or not, because I thought we were really good today. I was worried when I saw the starting lineup because
me too.
I'm not the biggest fan of Piergianni, if I'm brutally honest. I think he's a bit agricultural, but I guess needs must at times. So then when we had Diarra and the Arsenal boy next to each other, I was thinking, oh dear, this could be a bit. Well, I thought they were both very good. I liked Diarra today. I thought he looked really good. The Arsenal lad really, he leaps, good header. I thought they looked pretty comfortable. So it's just you never know what you're going to get from one week to the next. It's so unpredictable.
Yeah, I think.
Do you know what? I was just saying, like a couple of games ago, I wanted to see Clark and Diarra as our pair. And I was having a look into Diarra since he arrived, because obviously when we got boosted, Diarra, Fage, and anyone else who was French was taking the stick for it. But Diarra, including today, out of the 7 games he started, we've won 6.
Yeah, I mean we've been on a good run of form. I thought he looked alright today. I really did. I quite liked him.
Yeah, I do like. I think he's going to turn out to be a quality player.
I agree with that too. When I saw the starting lineup, I was preparing to come on here and start shouting David Wheater's name, but we didn't really miss him. They were both excellent today. Whether 2 young boys can keep that up every week or not is debatable, but I thought they were very good today.
How old is he?
Diarra's about he's only 20s. He's only, I'd say 24 or something like that. He's quite a young lad. Should look it up now on someone's phone, but I think
I'm not sure how old he is. I know Clark's a young lad, isn't he?
Well, we've a policy now, lads. Only young lads.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But what pleased me today the most was I thought they worked really, really hard. They really did. You could see them at the end of the game. They left nothing out there. They were when that final whistle went, they were all hunched over. They were blowing. Yeah. They were knackered. They really put a shift in. And also in the second half, after we went 2 up, I was watching the game here in the spare room, and then I went in to go and get some food out of the oven. Came back and it was 1-0. I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, typical. And then so I had to chase the goal on Twitter to see. Well, it was a lovely finish from McCallum. They decided to give him about 10 feet either side of him, loads of space, and he just put it in nicely. And then we went 2 up. And then Cambridge kind of like, they had a moment, didn't they, where they tried to get him back into it, but Latics, they handled it really well. They took the game to Cambridge then, and they snuffed it out, didn't they? They managed it really well. I thought
it was a really good performance. I was a bit worried when they brought Wes Houlihan on, because I thought he would be the type of player who might dictate play. He was involved in there, and it was a good finish by the lad who's scored a load for him this season. Yeah. But if you think of the first half, I don't think that wasn't offside. Twambe's goal should have stood for me. I thought it was a very soft penalty, cracking save by Lawler. It was good performance. There was a bit of commentary from Mikey and Roy in the first half where they were trying to talk Borthwick Jackson up. I don't know if you noticed, about sort of half hour into the game, and I'd counted 5 passes that he'd gone astray from Borthwick Jackson, and I picked him out before when his distribution for someone who's played for Manchester United's first team is sometimes
he's very on-paced, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's almost like 60% for every game. Do you know what? I'm going to bang the Dylan Fage drum here, because I think Dylan Fage is getting some really unnecessary stick. I was seeing the Bradford game, there was people tweeting, Fage had a good game, a couple of good balls in. And against Tranmere, he was poor, don't get me wrong. So were 4 or 5 others. And straight away, he needs to be dropped. Today, 5-10 minutes in, he was the one player Cambridge were worried about, but he's the only player we've actually got who's got a bit of pace, isn't he? We could do with someone else who can stretch defences.
I don't know when it was.
He does give the ball away, though.
Was it about 10 minutes? I can't remember, 10, 15 minutes in when he cut inside the left fullback and then squared it lovely to Grant, who missed control.
Grant should have done better.
Got his foot, didn't it? That was a really good performance. I really, really enjoyed watching that. It was,
it was a good game, wasn't it? It was a good game. If
they do that every week, I'd be absolutely over the moon. It's great.
Yeah, one of
my mates who is scouting on Concede, and he sent me a WhatsApp this afternoon. He said, "What do you think of the keeper at Oldham?" So I said, "I think he's all right. You know, he'll win us games. Equally, he'll give goals away. But I think he'll go on to play at a higher level. He's a decent acquisition for us." And he sent me some stats over that actually he's faced the most shots on target, 70 before today's game, out of anyone in the league.
Yeah,
Ian Lawler.
Yeah, I've quite liked Lawler as a signing as well. I think he looks all right. I had a look on Twitter. He signed for us, and there was quite a few Doncaster fans not all that impressed with him, and were giving him some stick because the other lad, Gary Woods, that we got out on loan, he was at Doncaster as well, wasn't he? And I saw the Doncaster fans giving them both a bit of stick, but Lawler's looked a lot better than Gary Woods for me over the course of the season.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
He made some good catches today, which he's not been doing that much. He's been punching and he's looked a bit suspect commanding his box. I thought today he looked like a lot more competent when he was catching the ball, which I was pleased to see. Really good hand for the penalty save. It was quite close to him, but he got it out of harm's way.
It was a poor penalty, wasn't it?
It was a poor penalty, but he
did well. But it was a poor penalty.
He put it in the right
good strong hand, though.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. He's given a couple of penalties away himself, but yeah, I think he's been decent, to be honest. I mean, when you look at the likes of Zeus, De La Paz,
God.
as
I think that's what we're going to
imagine how many goals we'd have conceded this season if he'd have been in goal for us, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. That's what we get at this level, don't we? I've seen Bahambula get because he's given a ball away after beating 5 men, or if only his far better. But if his final product were better, he's not going to be in, League One or perhaps a little bit higher, because he has got the ability to beat men and, change a game. But then you'll see he'll give the ball away from 5 yards or put it out for a throw-in needlessly. So I think that's what we just have to come to accept, especially with the goalkeepers. I mean, with Daniel Iverson before the Fulham game, people were sold on him, were they, initially? That's just what we get at this level. We'll get young keepers who aren't, playing first-team football elsewhere.
Look, I mean, today was a poor pitch. I think both teams tried to play football the best they could. So, it could have been one of those. It could have been a horrible League Two game, couldn't it, on a pitch like that? But
I was sort of worried that we might do what we've done at the start of the season, which is start playing these long balls into Grant and McElhenney, up front, which wouldn't stick. We were trying to get around the back of them, and I really enjoyed it. I was really surprised. It's quite nice to come on here and be saying good stuff about him, because it was an enjoyable game, and the tactics seemed to work perfectly well, which Harry Kewell hasn't always got right. I thought he set the team up quite well today, and we looked solid at the back. We looked like we could score. We could have scored about 4 or 5, really. It's decent.
It was bold, wasn't it? If we'd have got beat today, Kewell would have got some stick for them changes, and, we'd have all been saying, myself included, why Danny Rowe played, why we made these changes. I thought John Batty had a good game at right back. I thought he looked much more comfortable.
He is a right back, isn't he? That's the point.
I thought he had a really good game. I think on Ben Garrity, I made a note to him watching the game. He actually looks like someone who's borrowed the socks out of lost property, doesn't he, when he's got his kit on and he's playing. And there are moments, of real mediocrity with him, but he pops up in good positions at least once or twice a game.
Yeah,
and
he went
got
close,
that. And he did against Tranmere on Tuesday. And he got that in his locker where he just pops up and finds that chance. And I think that's, there's a reason he's playing, isn't it? Again, there was a 2-3 yard pass that he'd give away. And I suppose it's so easy to pick up on the bad stuff, but I think it's worth highlighting that with Garrity, that although he might not look the part and, he may not do anything flash, he does pick up those positions. He reminds me of a poor man's Gary McDonald from back in 06, 07, if you want to say, how he just pop up in the box and grab you a goal. He's got 4, hasn't he, already this season?
Yeah, he's got a few. Yeah.
I don't think he's going to go on many. He's not going to go on many shirts of fans, is he? And he's probably not going to get loads of man of the matches. But it'd be interesting to see at the end of the season how many points he's contributed towards.
Yeah, no, I agree, and we need to settle, don't we? One of the things that we've needed is to just settle on a team, and the lads get used to playing with each other, and that seems to be happening a little bit now. There seems to be, I mean, even though we're changing, I think it's just a matter of time, isn't it? The season's progressing, the lads are getting to know each other, Harry's getting to know the lads. He can make changes, and it can be. It can be absorbed better because everybody knows each other a bit better. So, look, we just need to get some wins at home because we're 5 off the playoffs and 7 off the bottom. And away from home, we look like we're heading towards the playoffs, and at home, we look like we're heading towards the drop zone. So, it's a weird old season. But I said it last week's podcast, I'd rather us be losing a game, winning a game like we are, and because you do make
1-1 every week.
Make games. Like in recent seasons, we'd have drawn at least one of those games this weekend, and we're better off with the 3 on the board. Frustrating, we got nothing against Tranmere. I would have rather we got a point, but yeah, it's definitely good. I mean, it's definitely, there are signs of encouragement, aren't there? It's not all doom and gloom, and that's the main thing, because the start of the season was pretty grim.
And I think this was a point I made on Tuesday as well, like when things were poor, it was a poor start, wasn't it? Really, really poor, and we were blaming Mo, we were blaming Alan. Listen, we've become quite it's a toxic fan base, isn't it, at times, especially if we lose 2 or 3 in a row. We're saying just before Tuesday that we'd given Mo and Kewell loads of stick, calling for his head. I was. But actually, after 5-6 games in a row playing well, we have to give it back both ways. We have to give credit to Harry. If Mo picks the team when we lose, he picks the team when we win. We can't just, throw that one-sided bias argument out, can we? It doesn't change the fact we still want the ownership out and we want it to change. But I think a balanced view would make us a little bit more happy and a little less angry, I think, at times.
Yeah, no, I agree.
That's just my opinion.
Well, that's how you have to try and approach everything in life, isn't it? But it's football. You're passionate. It's like I said on last week's podcast. It's not just the last 3 years. It's not just this season. It's a long time. It's an accumulation, and patience is very, very thin. And like I said on last week's podcast, it was about the club acknowledging that and understanding that when it comes to how they communicate with us and all that kind of stuff. Because we had every right to be as pissed off as we were at the start of this season. Absolutely. It was an absolute shocker. And the reason it was so bad is because we started with brand new players, brand new manager again. And there was no way of knowing how that was going to end up. And, it looks like it's working out and we're making progress and we don't have to worry about getting relegated, which is like, the basics.
I think we just need to keep our feet on the ground, don't we? These tweets and these talks now with 5 points off the playoffs, and we lose on Tuesday or whenever the next game is, and actually you're only 4 points above the bottom 2. So we've just got to keep our feet on the ground and not get too excited. But again, when we lose, like on Tuesday against Tranmere, not get too dour and down in the dumps about it. There are going to be games where you lose, and it doesn't mean you were awful or you did everything wrong. You just Cambridge weren't awful today. They weren't great, but they weren't horrific, and we beat them. Could just mention as well, what did you think when he brought Bahambula on today?
Well, I missed
that. He took a defensive-minded player off, didn't he?
Who did he bring off?
Was it McCalmont? Brought off someone in the middle for him and shoved Fage into the middle, and he went out right. I thought it was quite a bold substitution, actually, because he's not known for his defensive work. We were 2-0 up, and I think that actually stretched the game for another 5-6 minutes for us, because they'd have worked for Bahambula. They'd be prepared for Rowe, wouldn't they? And knowing we were bringing him on when they were pushing, and perhaps made him think otherwise. Actually, on the break here, we've got to be careful.
I think
it's bold sub from Kewell.
Yeah, I mean, if he's not learned by now that we don't cope well with being under the cosh, like we have to have that out ball, we have to have that release. Bringing Bahambula on, he'll run with it. He'll get us he'll break it open. It needed to be done. We're never going to be comfortable defending the 2. Well, I wouldn't have thought we were going to be comfortable defending the 2-0 lead. 2-0's not comfortable for me. You go into the last 15 at 2-0. Nah, not happy about this. So you're not going to just become all defensive and sit back. It's not going to work for us. Cambridge just didn't look like too much of a threat today. They didn't really create anything on goal, did they? So
No.
that was a good piece of individual play for their goal. And I didn't panic too much. Like, I usually be panicking after that went in, but I was still pretty calm, to be honest.
And then a couple of balls into the box, didn't they, in the first half, and they were dealt with scrappily, but they were dealt with, and other than that, it wasn't really. I think the last 15 minutes of the first half became a bit scrappy, and when we gave the penalty away, I weren't surprised because we'd kind of lost our foothold in the game a little bit, and here we go. But what I'm watching it on, it's 2 minutes behind, all my notifications. I've not got a notification. So when he took up, I had a feeling that he'd missed when he stepped up. There's nothing in buzz to let me know.
I think the second half was a better performance. I think I'm just remembering back to just really bad clearances in the first half and just allowing them to come back. And, it wasn't, we kind of grew into the game, didn't we? It wasn't brilliant from the start.
There was a few chances early on. There was, we had a goal disallowed. Didn't seem to be any reason to disallow.
I think he thought was it Grant that they thought were offside? Was it?
Yeah,
just in front.
I think
off the defender, didn't it?
Grant had backheeled it. I think
but he did come off the defender.
Off the Cambridge defender, and it looked like the linesman assumed that Grant got a touch on his
I thought it had come off Grant initially, to be honest.
Yeah, so you think that was it, but on the replay showed it wasn't. So you had that. You had Fage had a shot from sort of the edge of the area when he could have taken it on a bit, and Grant had let one roll under his foot. I thought we looked all right in the first half, and it was just a good all round performance. But you're sort of talking about before about. We're looking all right. I am feeling more comfortable now than when you first invited me on the podcast. I was panicking. The first one was a Salford game you invited me, and after that, I was panicking we were going down. I don't think we're going to go down now, thankfully. Hopefully, touch wood. Let's not get too carried away. But we seem to have enough about us, and that makes me feel a bit more comfortable. But you sort of saying a moment ago, we look all right. We look all right. We're still, like you said, we're still 16th in the table.
Yeah.
I'm an Oldham Athletic fan. I don't consider 16th in League Two to be all right ever.
No.
So I want to see us up at the other end of the table. But unless we get unless you bring in some experience into these young lads to give them some support through the games, we're going to do what we're doing now. We're going to get beat one week, win the other, beat one week, win the other, which is going to end up seeing us in mid-table. So we're not going to go up this season. Hopefully, we're not going to go down. Then how many of the players that you want to retain do you retain, and how much is it of a restart again? And I guess those are things to concern about in the future. I guess like Gaz has said, you got to give credit where it's due. That Diarra looks all right, and some of the other signing, McElhaney, good signing. Kuhl's setting him up all right recently. So things look good, but I guess. How can we continue to improve? If we did finish mid-table this season, how can we push on to get into the top half next? If we see that,
we've got to keep players. If we keep players too,
and managers.
That improvement, or season by season, you're going to lose something. We've got something like 13. I can't remember what the number was. 13 of our 19 contracted players on 1-year deals, right? So we're not going to keep all of them. And so, if you see that improvement. Then actually, I'd be prepared to say, okay, Mr. Lemzagam and your sporting director brother, I'll start backing off with a criticism. Then, if that's the way we're going, if you're keeping us solvent, you're paying everyone on time, you're treating everyone properly, and there's improvement on the pitch. Okay, I'm happy.
That's what we want, isn't it? I mean, ultimately, that's what we want.
Yeah. All of my criticisms and calls for change have been directed around the fact that. All I've seen is falling further into the mire with the potential of losing our Football League status, or even worse, going out of business. So, if we can manage through, then I think there was an announcement this week, wasn't it, that the Premier League and the EFL have come to some agreement on cash. I think there's 50 million quid. I can't remember the exact numbers. 30 million made available immediately, 20 million on application. So, one assumes that's going to help. League Two football clubs get through this period. So, it'd be nice to think that we might have something to look forward to in the future. It'd be lovely. I'm not gonna bank on it, mind, but
no, this has to be. This is a big season for Harry Kewell. It's a big season for Mo. Big season for Abdallah. They've got to start planning for next season now. This season, they've got to nail down which players are they putting on longer term contracts. Got to keep the best players. Got to sign them up for least 2 or 3 years, and then if they're good enough that other clubs want to buy them, let them buy them, but let them come in and pay money for them. We've got to establish now which players are going to be the spine of the team for next season, who's moving on, all that kind of stuff needs to start happening now. I assume it is. But, you know...
You've preempted everything I was going to say then.
I know that Dino was trying to plan ahead, and then he got binned off. So, like, you know, we can't afford that to happen anymore. My dad said that he's been a season ticket holder for years, and, you know, he renewed his season ticket, and then he said straight after, but if they bin Kewell off, then I'm not doing it again. Because it's all this flitting and messing around, going into next season uncertain. We need to settle down, don't we? Big time, guys. We need to settle down.
Yeah, you preempted everything I was going to say, Matt. I think contracts for some of these players who are on 1-year deals, they need to be done and dusted for me before January comes around. Let's get 9 or 10 of them signed. It goes against the grain of what we know and how they run things, but. Here's to hoping, eh? But I think Christmas is massive. The games are coming thick and fast now. They're going to come even quicker for 2-3 weeks, and it could really shape, where we go from there. And we can only live in hope that actually they are listening to platforms such as this and reading, sensible tweets and listening to push the boundary and take on board what's being said. And I think behind all the anger and the passion, there is a big sense of realism, and people are expecting us to be in the Premier League again, despite this, notion that that's what everyone's impression about them, that we're still living in 1993 in the Premier League. We're not. For example, myself, I never experienced any of that. The highs for me was Ian Dowie's playoff season, and we were still shit at home then. We lost the playoff season through poor home results against Plymouth and Luton and stuff. So home form's a big problem anyway. But I think we do know where we are. We see ourselves. I don't think it's unrealistic to think we should be a regular, solid League One club. And hopefully, the new regime, this regime is going to start to pay a little bit of attention to the sensible and the professional ideas that are being put forward. I mean, like I said, first 10 games, I was ready for whacking tennis balls on the pitch, during half time. I was fuming, really, really was. But, you have to step back and get a bit of perspective and listen to your, one of this podcast a few weeks ago, Matt, and you got really emotional, and I'm listening to it and I was feeling everything you were saying. I think there's this latest run has helped, it's emptied the cup a little bit, hasn't it, in the right way, because it was seriously boiling over. And hopefully now, let's get some form going into the home games. Let's try and keep up what we can away and just be realistic. After what's been said, this crop of players will lose games. They will win games. I don't think they're going to be the consistent top 6 that we're hoping for, but hey, who knows? You never know, do you?
Look at today, Bolton, 6-3 at home to Port Vale, was it?
Mm.
It's a mad league. Bolton have gone on a good run. They've gone up the table, and then they let 6 in. Like, it's a mad league, and I don't think anyone...
Who's top?
Is it still Newport?
Newport,
and then is it Cheltenham second?
Yeah, Newport, Cheltenham, Forest Green in the automatics, Carlisle, Exeter, Cambridge, and Salford in the playoffs.
Yeah.
See, when we played Carlisle in that League Cup game prior to the season, in the couple of chats I were in, everyone was saying Carlisle are going to go down. Take no notice to this. They were the worst team you'll see all season. That's what was being said, wasn't it? And look where they are. I didn't think much of Cheltenham at all, even when we beat them 2-1. I thought that was, a poor game, but that's where they are. So you just never know, do you?
No, you don't. You really don't. And it's just
Cheltenham put 5 past Exeter today.
Yeah.
It is a mad league. It is a mad league. There's very little you can predict about it, really.
And there's a lot of games. It's Tuesday, Saturday, isn't it? So that's a factor.
It may start to become a little bit more consistent once everyone gets fans in. You might start to see the home form having a bit of an advantage again, or for Oldham, more of a disadvantage than it already fucking is. You just don't know, do you?
Can't get any worse at home, is it?
For me, I don't think it's necessarily the way we're set up. I think just the way the team's set up naturally away from home doesn't suit us. and we just haven't found an answer to it. Danny Rowe is not, for me, a target man. I would be dropping him deeper at home. I'd be getting someone in who can hold the ball up top for us in home games, and let's just see how we go from there, or just try and, take advantage of every single set piece we get, because the amount of possession we had against Tranmere, we created nothing, did we? Garrity's header was the closest we got.
Yeah.
But, home form is an issue. My main point in the Tranmere game was, I think the outcome would have been the same home or away, just the way just the way that
they were just better than us, weren't they? Tranmere were just better than us, and they just have to take it on the chin. It's just what you were talking about away. Then it's such a shame that we've got such a great away following, and they follow the team week in, week out, and this season would be buzzing, wouldn't it? Like all that travelling would be worth it. Would we getting the wins, and it's
today would have been a great away day, freezing cold, leading up to Christmas. Oh, it'd have been brilliant.
There was half a dozen Oasis managed to get in today. I won't name them. I've already been accused.
Lucky sods.
I'll let him Roy know.
Good on them. Good lads. Good lads.
Nice one. It's nice to be represented, isn't it?
Yeah.
What did occur to me during the game was that Cambridge fans have forgotten how to sing and get behind their team. There was just no, that I could hear, audible. Oh dear. A couple of cans of Guinness, I can't speak. There was no audible encouragement. I couldn't hear them get behind the team at all. Late into the second half, they mustered a semi kind of chant, but it was weird seeing people in the ground. And
I imagine you might have some people take issue with too much shouting and screaming with the current health.
Yeah, right. Most people were wearing face masks. I think everyone that I saw was wearing a face mask. So
I think you have to enter the ground. Yeah. Social distance face mask. But I think there's probably it will probably be frowned upon for you to be too animated for those reasons.
But there wasn't much social distancing going on, was there? They all seemed to be pretty close to each other, particularly behind
the goal. Yeah. But you couldn't really tell the perspective. They still could easily be 2 meters apart. But everyone else who was sat in the seats was spaced out. Fair enough.
Yeah.
For me, it's bad, isn't it? I'm not arsed about going to Boundary Park. I just want to go to the away games. Like, at the moment, honestly, that's how it got for me the last few years. Home games, I just weren't interested. I just didn't enjoy the experience at all. And, going away, it just felt like so much more positive, and it didn't hurt as much if you lost, probably because of the copious amounts of Stellas that were being, chucked back. But it'd be nice, actually, when we return, to get to Boundary Park and to have almost like a fresh start, I suppose. It'd be nice if we could get that North Stand open and make the most out of that.
Well, yeah, there's still all these issues, isn't there? I mean, there's a lot of work to be done at Boundary Park in terms of the whole match day experience, in terms of before, during, and after the game. Yeah. There's a lot of work to do.
Following on from the 2-1 away win against Cambridge, Oldham now turn their attention to Bradford in the league on Saturday. A team that Oldham have played twice and beaten twice this season. This time the game will take place at Boundary Park. Oldham have won their last 6 away games in all competitions. Bradford have not won in 7 games in all competitions, losing 6 and drawing 1 of their last 7 games. Their last win came in the FA Cup against Tonbridge Angels, and after that Oldham have beaten Bradford 3-1 in the Papa John's Trophy and 2-1 in the FA Cup. In the league this season, they have scored 14 goals in their 15 games, averaging 11.3 shots per game. Their average possession is 52.1% and pass completion at 70.7%. The top goal scorer is Lee Novak, scoring 3 goals in 7 appearances, and one other danger man is the veteran Clayton Donaldson. He has scored 2 goals and got 1 assist this season in 11 games, and 1 goal came against Oldham in the Cup 2 weeks ago. Using set pieces to their advantage, Bradford also like using counter-attacks to gain good attacking chances. They've not been the most prolific side this season and have also been poor at defending counter-attacks and set pieces. Most commonly using the 3-4-1-2 formation, they've used this in 5 games, scoring 3 goals, conceding 3 goals, and totaling 1 win, 1 draw and 3 losses. In terms of their league position, they are really struggling this season, sitting 23rd in the league after 15 games. Managing 13 points so far, they have also conceded a total of 20 goals. Meanwhile, Oldham currently sit 16th in the table after their 16 games, after another win sees them jump up to 20 points. Scoring 23 goals and conceding 29, Oldham have the same goal difference as Bradford in -6. The Oldham attacking lineup has been boosted recently with the return of Conor McElhenney. Making his return against Bradford in the Cup, he scored in that game and also scored on the weekend. These recent goals have put his total up to 7 goals and 1 assist for the season, in an Oldham side that averaged 12.4 shots per game, an average of 48% possession and 69.2% pass completion. With danger up front and on the wings, the 4-1-4-1 has been used in 5 games, seeing Oldham score 8 goals and also concede 8, winning 3 of these games and losing 2. The break in midweek against Sunderland might give Oldham the chance to rest some players. Bradford is the game on Saturday, and then they have 4 league games in the remainder of December. A win against Bradford could really see Oldham jump up the table, even as high as 11th, overtaking Port Vale, who sit on 22 points. The Bradford side are out of sorts and have a longer break with no game in midweek, but having been beaten by Oldham 2 times already, Oldham will be looking to make it 3 out of 3 as they welcome Bradford to Boundary Park.
It brings me on actually to the other thing that I was going to talk about, which is fan engagement, because that kind of all that stuff is very important, that fans are engaged properly. We've had the options of the new badge this week on Twitter, which has everything divides opinion, not just in terms of lactics of football, in life, that's normal, everything divides opinion. But Carl Evans seems to have got this kind of notion in his head that he doesn't like the old badge, and he said it when he came on this podcast. He said he didn't like the old badge and he wanted a new badge. I think a lot of fans took that to heart to mean that we could reinstate the old badge, because that seems quite popular, the previous badge. I've been led to believe that there are issues in terms of the rights to that badge, which maybe has restricted that badge coming back. But then what we've been given is these 3 options of the badges, which are based on old badges but redesigned. One of them, which is the crest with the Lancashire rose and the owl, and then there's the owl on the ball, and then there's the weird version of the old badge. What do you think of the badges, lads? Andy, you're grinning quite a lot there. What's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I was wondering whether you were going to come on this topic of conversation or not, or around it. Yeah, because I feel really positive today after watching that. It was a great performance, and I really enjoyed it. But I guess we've got to have a bit of a whinge here and there. Yeah, I was a bit disappointed. I've been a bit disappointed with Carl Evans' interactions on Twitter, because when he first joined, and I've said it before, so I won't go over repeating everything, but he's had a great work experience. He sounded great on your podcast. I had high hopes for him. I thought he might be able to help us change some of the practices that are self-evidently working poorly behind the scenes, the sort of non-match day stuff. And his interactions on Twitter using 2 different Twitter accounts, that's quite strange in itself. His interactions on both of those, it doesn't take him long to get riled, does it? It doesn't take him long to get rattled. And his exchanges about the badge, about the crests, and I've just got it up in front of me now. We're with 2 people, Ryan Hamer and Chris Stringer. Chris Stringer is the late Dave Stringer's son. Opinions for you on Owena Blues. He's a lovely boy. He's clearly not any internet troll. Wouldn't call Ryan Hamer the same from sort of watching his account over time. So to get rattled by those 2, just asking reasonable questions like, could you just run the winner of these 3 against this one? They were asking reasonable things, and he got rattled pretty quick, which I thought was a real disappointment. I sort of stayed away from, I don't know about you guys, I stayed away from the crest voting. When Corny got rid of the original, what I would have called the original badge that I know from the 80s, when he got rid of that one for what you call the angry owl today, I didn't like that. Perversely, over time, the angry owl's grown on me, and I sort of got used to it. And I'm now ambivalent. Now I think, it's only a badge. Who cares? Doesn't really make a difference. So they brought out this 125-year one. That looks quite good. Again, it's a sort of a nod to an old badge. Looks all right. And then close to the 80s and 90s one as well on the away shirt. You think to yourself, okay, fair enough. But yeah, I think the 3 that they've put out to vote on, they're not very good, are they? I mean, the one which is the owl on top of the ball, which is like the one you think of when you think of the kit with the red shore on it. So very early 80s, that one. That's probably the best of the 3, but even then it's a bit meh. So it is what it is. I've not got involved personally because I think to myself, I don't really care. But I'm sort of surprised at Carl Evans for very quickly taking offence at receiving feedback, which was actually perfectly credible and fair feedback, I thought.
I think that there's issues about the process, which is opening up the opportunity for people to criticise and be annoyed about things. Because to say we're going to do fan engagement and then for an individual like Carl to take something on and then just present, here's your options for your 3 badges. Well, hang on a minute. Like, that's not really how it works. Like, you should be doing some research first beforehand to see what the mood is for the change of a badge. Do they want to revert to an older badge? You know what I mean? There's a process which you go through before you launch it. It was just kind of like, this is my idea. I'm going to do this. There you go. And therefore, I think as a result of that, people that are criticising his process and what he's doing, he's taking it personally. And then and then responding to people on Twitter in a way which doesn't, what's the word I'm looking for? Come on, the all good with words. Which doesn't what his position as the CEO. I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but it doesn't suit the position of he's got into this tit for tat, and it's not the only issue, and now he's actually seems to have closed his OAFC Twitter account as well. That seems to have vanished.
It looks like he shut it down, hasn't it? So he's obviously that's twice he's sort of entered the Twitter foray on the hashtag to try and engage with supporters, and then within a matter of days or weeks, he's closed them both down. I mean, I think when I came on a previous podcast you invited me on, I'd encourage him to keep at it personally, because I sort of admire the effort, but he's really got to just pack in the sort of spitting his dummy out when he don't go the way he wants. Because it's about it's about understanding the depth of feeling, isn't it? And I think he's just not necessarily got to grips with how a lot of Latics fans feel about a lot of topics. 20, like you said earlier, 25 years of this sort of, we are top of that league of the 92 Football League clubs that have not achieved anything. We're at the top of it. So he's got to sort of tap into that a bit more and realise that, if you scratch it beneath the surface, there's some loyalty in this fan base that he could work with, but actually he's just got to not take it too personally when he's getting some feedback. The crests are all right. I'm not really going to get involved, but he shouldn't be taking offence, particularly at the people. I could sort of understand it if it was known Twitter trolls, and we've got a few, haven't we? We've probably got more.
You ignore them, Andy.
Totally. Totally.
Whenever it comes back on, I just think the people like. I'm not going to give them the benefit of naming them, but you just ignore them. They're just sad fuckers. You ignore them.
Yeah.
You don't rise to it.
We've got a few on our hashtag that are regulars, but the thing that surprised me is the 2 people that he was interacting with where he lost his rag were 2 what I would consider to be just normal fans interacting on Twitter, and that just sort of made me frown and think, come on. Yeah, that's not good. It wasn't professional of him. Let's be honest. What do you think, Gaz?
I mean, the crest, it's really trivial, isn't it? In the grand scheme of things, what's going on with this club. We're getting a little bit stressed out over crests and stuff, but I'm kind of with Andy, and maybe roll a few out, maybe give an option where, fans can design their own and throw it in. So, there's a bit of autonomy on from both sides, and at the end of the day, if they want to go with what they want, that's fine. It's a bit like Brian Clough, innit? We'll chat about it and then the end decide I was right, if that's the way they want to do it. But it's the way you roll it out and portray it. In regards to Carl, I admire him coming on. I think he's underestimated the worry amongst the fan base. I think he's massively underestimated it, but I wouldn't discourage it. I'd encourage him to keep trying and connect with those who do want to work and don't just want to troll, if you want to call it that. Because, there's a lot of smart people in our fan base. There's a lot of very intelligent people, and if you went into any situation, you want to hear someone come up with solutions and not problems. And the 2 guys you've mentioned who suggested, run it up against this, they went with a solution, didn't they? Not a problem. We're not keen on these 3 badges, but we like this. Can we look at it? And I don't know. I think there's bigger issues, and we're kind of letting something trivial get in the way of it. So I'm not dipping my toe even in the water with that one.
I think the issue of the badge is, like you say, it is just a badge and everything, but it is emotion. It is emotive for a lot of people. A lot of people,
of course, yeah.
You know what I mean? But some people are want to sort of like, especially when you feel that your club is losing its identity, and you look back to that badge and that crest, and you associate it, like you said, Andy, from the 80s and the 90s, and you associate it with better times, and there's an emotional connection to that. But it's not just about that. It's like I said earlier, right? It's about the process. It's about how you do things. It's about rolling things out in the right way, doing the right things in the meeting room at Oldham with the staff. How are we going to run that? We're going to have a new badge. How do we roll this out? How do we do this? What concerns will the fans have? What kind of engagement and what kind of feedback do we need from fans? Shall we roll this out like you said, Gaz? Shall we give the fans an opportunity to design a new crest? What are the issues with the old crest? They're going to want to know why we can't have the old crest. Well, there's right issues, right? So we need to let the fans know that there's rights issues with these badges, and that's why we can't do that. You do it properly. Don't just kind of fudge it through. It's like with the kits that when we had those crappy kit designs from Hull.
Yeah.
and we're all going, Carl, these are shit. Why would we vote on these? You can't see anything. And then he starts getting annoyed and takes that personally. What you have to realise is you're doing the process wrong. Look at the bigger clubs. Look at the clubs that are running things better and doing things better. How are they doing it? Do it like them. Liaise with people in other football clubs that are doing it right. It's the processes that are being done wrong that is frustrating us all.
It's not even the bigger clubs that they necessarily need to look towards.
No,
they can look at some smaller clubs in the regions, like your Accringtons, and look at how they run stuff, and they run it brilliantly. So, I agree with you. It is entirely about process and
communication. Big problem, isn't it? Big problem. But I think just today, brilliant. Really pleased with today. Don't want to get distracted by it with the shenanigans. Really pleased with today. I think it's definitely worth another mention.
Oh, definitely. Look. These podcasts come out every week, and it's a week in the life of Oldham Athletic, isn't it? And it's a week in the life of Oldham Athletic is CEOs coming on Twitter and getting defensive over a botched football crest thing. It's a defeat at home to Tranmere. It's a win away at Cambridge. It's all these things, and that's our duty as people who are going to come on and talk about this thing week in, week out, to talk about everything. But ultimately, like you say, guys, winning football matches is what it's all about. And today we've won a football.
That'll keep people happy, won't it? Yeah. Have you had any luck to get David on here yet?
Sorry?
Have you had any luck trying to get David Wheater's dog on here yet?
No, because I don't know if you know, but if you go near him, you try to lift him up. It's just not.
Honestly, one of the
he won't stay still.
Best Twitter account ever. Brilliant. David Wheater's dog. Woof.
Yeah. No, that was a good one.
Brilliant.
That was a good one. Hey, sorry, another thing that's come up this week. What about the Roger Palmer Twitter? Is that Roger Palmer or is it not Roger Palmer? I was just like, yes, it's Roger Palmer.
As far as I was, he doesn't look like Roger Palmer to me, and I was very sceptical when I saw it. But I've had it on authority from people who are usually correct that it is Roger Palmer, or I assume somebody operating an account on behalf of him.
Yes, that's what I'd assume. Yeah, someone doing it for him.
I was incredulous to begin with that it was him, but if it is great.
Yeah. I hoped it was. I found a picture earlier on. I might tweet it later of me and Roger Palmer and my brother. He presented some awards at when I used to play for Chaddy Park when I was a kid. He presented some awards for us, and then I was working at an event in Sale. This was probably about 15 years ago. And I was stood there talking to someone and I looked over. It was like a community centre, like an outdoor event or something like that. I looked over. I was like, that's Roger fucking Palmer's over. Roger Palmer's over there. Like, what the I walked over to him and I and I spoke to him and, introduced myself, an Oldham fan. And they got me pictures taken with him on a really, really old phone. And it's gone. It's lost. But he's one of those people. He's such a legend and he's so elusive. He remains in the shadows, doesn't he? He doesn't have a public figure at all, is he? So I got really excited and really starstruck when I saw him because I've seen loads of fans of people in bands and stuff like that. I tend to leave people alone. Do you know what I mean? If I don't tend to like going up to people, but it was Roger Palmer, and I just, And so if he's on Twitter and we get the chance to sort of send a bit of praise his way, then that's all good.
While you're here talking about anecdotes of bumping into former heroes, can I tell you one? Just randomly.
Please.
So I'll tell you the year. It's 2004. and I got invited to attend the Football Writers Awards dinner, right, which was near Lancaster Gate. I'm on a table with Keith Birkinshaw, former Spurs player and manager, and it's just littered with football people. I saw Venables, Arsene Wenger, Alex Ferguson, all wandering about. And it was just a dinner event, and I think the award went to Thierry Henry at the end of the night. But I spent my whole evening just trying to find Latics connected people, the whole evening, and I could barely find any. I couldn't see any. I went through the whole venue, walking around, looking at tables, seeing who sat there. I couldn't find anybody. And then all of a sudden, I saw the ex-Ipswich Town chairman, David Sheepshanks, walking, because he was involved in the England setup at the time. David Sheepshanks walking past me in my eye line. I thought, follow him. So I followed David Sheepshanks all the way to the back of this room, and to this sort of room tucked around the back. And then there on this table was the board of directors of Ipswich Town, David Sheepshanks, and sat right at the back against the wall was Joe Royle, because he was manager of Ipswich at the time. But a whole table full of people, I couldn't get to him easy. So I went to the bar and I stood there and thought, I've got to make the effort, haven't I now? I've come this way, come this far. So I just interrupted the whole table, who turned around and looked at me and I feel really awkward. I'm like, sorry, Joe, I was a season ticket holder at Oldham Athletic. I don't know if you've got like 5 minutes for a chat. He went, of course I have. Got up, moved away from the table, took me to the bar, bought me a pint. I was there half an hour with him, chatting away. Lovely.
Brilliant.
What a great bloke.
That's great.
Yeah, that's something our younger fans are not going to get in it nowadays. They're not going to walk into, like the Spindles and get starstruck when they see Ben Garrity or Dylan Bahamboula, are they? It's because they're not here long enough. They're never going to be able to build up that relationship with the players.
Yeah, that's the thing, and that's like what we were talking about before. That's why this has got this good run. I say it's a good run. It's not. It's this good run that we're having alongside this bad run that we're having at the moment. These seeds of optimism that there are some good players at the club, and Harry does seem to be working well with them, and there is signs for optimism. We need that. We need some of these players on 2 or 3 year contracts, and we need to go into next season looking like we're building.
I still can't work Kewell out. Still struggling to work him out. Harry Kewell very, very rarely mentions the fans. I think he did an interview last week. The first time he mentioned, he said it'd be nice to have fans there. I was thinking, it's the first time you've acknowledged us. He's never actually spoken to us. It's almost like he's operating in this bubble that, pardon the pun, where the fans, although they don't actually exist. It's so strange. There's no connection with him at all yet.
I don't think they really matter to him. I don't think in his mindset, and I'm not saying that. I just think the way that I think he's very, very single-minded. I think he's very, very focused on Harry Kewell and Harry Kewell's world and his little circle of work, his players and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not saying anything about. I don't know anything about his character. I just don't think it really matters to him. And over time, if he does well and the fans come back in and there's some kind of report, that might change. But at the minute, I don't think he's really bothered. Because if he was, I think he would talk about it more. And I think that's just the way it is.
I always make a judgment on a manager, how good a communicator they are, what their oratory skills are like in an interview. Like I listen to them speak and, narrate their way through a situation, and just I make a judgment on how, if they're managing human resource at the end of the day, to get the best out of that human resource on the pitch, they're going to have to be good communicators, in my opinion. So I'm looking for someone who can communicate well. He's not impressed me in his interviews. He's quite sort of disjointed in the way that he communicates. He doesn't say things that are all that clear. If you think about the managers in the past that we've had, who you would say are good sort of orators or speak with authority, I thought Lee Johnson, who's just gone to Sunderland today. Yeah. I thought he spoke well. Ian Dowie was a good communicator. Royal was a good communicator. They're like all good managers tend to be good communicators. But I've not been that impressed with Harry Kewell so far. But our form of Tranmere aside has been excellent. So that's fine.
Yeah, I
agree with what you said, Matt.
I liked listening to Shares, and I liked listening to Richie Wellens, because there was a lot of honesty, and they didn't mince the words, and they didn't try and polish a turd. You know what I mean? They just said it as they felt it, and you could see the emotion from what they were trying to say and all the rest of it. Yeah. Kewell lacks that. He doesn't deliver anything with any real emotion. He tries to paint things with words, and there's a lack of sincerity that comes from him.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's trying to do that on purpose or if that's just how he is, never met him, so I'm not judging him as a person. That's just how he comes across, isn't it? He just doesn't come across as very sincere or very emotional, and so it's hard to engage and buy into someone like that. What were you going to say, Gaz? Sorry.
I mean, I think that's what I'm saying. I agree with what you're saying. Like, I don't think he's sorry we're not there at the moment. I think he's probably got a point to prove to himself because he's failed at this level a couple of times. And do you know what? If his determination to succeed individually makes Oldham Athletic better, crack on.
Yeah, I think obviously he knows that had there been fans in the stadium for his first 10 games, it wouldn't have been very pleasant.
Oh, God.
For him. So
toxic. Toxic.
He caught a lucky break there in some respects.
That might have been a blessing in disguise, though, because actually it might go on to be okay. And if the fans were in, it may have gone. So we just never know, do we?
And look, I don't care if I like Harry Kewell or not, or if 95% of fans don't like Harry Kewell. If he's winning us football matches and he's doing what he's there to do and he's taking us up the table, then crack on, Harry. We'll like you for that. And even if we don't warm to what you say and how you come across as a in your interviews, but it's a weird time for him as well. It's I have to look at it from his point of view. He's talking to a camera in an empty stadium to the press people. There are no fans for him to engage with. I don't know who's. I mean, he has tweeted, I think, in this last week. People do tag him into tweets and stuff, but I would imagine if he goes on the hashtag, it's like, well, I'll just stay away from that. So
I thought Harry Kewell was trolling at the beginning when he first came in. Some of the things he was saying, down from the David Wheater, and he came earlier in the season and we got battered, and I think Dylan Fage and Badan had poor games, and he came out and said I thought they were excellent.
Yeah, and
I remember tweeting.
What's happened to him, Badan? By the way, is he injured? Is he
injured? He's long-term injured.
Is he?
I think Badan by name, Badan by nature, he isn't very good at all.
Well, he's not had that much of a chance, has he, in fairness? He only did play a few games, but yeah, look, I mean, I think we've covered most of the ground today now. It's we know it's going to be an unpredictable season. We know we've got good wins in us. We know we're going to lose. We're going to be disappointed. I think that we've got enough in the squad to make sure that we probably finish around mid-table. You never know, there might be a flirt with a last-minute chase for a playoff place, or up until the last 10 games of the season, something like that. I think we're probably going to be okay, which is
nice to have some
at the beginning of the season,
Yeah, I mean, we could easily flirt with the bottom two again, like you say. But I feel much better. I feel much better today, and I have felt much better the last few weeks, because that Bradford game was decent performance as well. I watched that one. So you think to yourself, we should have enough not to go down, and that makes me feel a bit better. Like now you're looking to the leadership, aren't you, to say, right, come on then, what are we going to do to improve upon this? I don't think any of us are expecting to go up this year or challenge at the top end this year. It'd be nice, but no one's expecting it. So what we're going to do to build on it? Come on, show us what we're going to do to build on it. Show us how you're going to improve the way you run the club, and we'll get behind you.
Yeah. I think that's a good note to end on that, Andy. That's optimistic. We want to get behind them. We want Oldham to win football matches. And we all want to be on the same team, don't we? Right, gentlemen, we're going to call it a day. A, because I'm going to have to edit this, and B, because I really need the toilet. So it seems like a good enough reason to go. Thank you both very much for coming on. It was very good to talk to you, Gaz. Nice to meet you. Andy, as always.
Cheers, thanks for having us on. Nice one.
And cheers, I'll be in touch with you again. I'm sure you'll be welcome back. Cheers, lads. Thanks very much.
All the best, fellas. See you, mate.
See you, mate. Bye.
The Boundary Park Alert System is a Studio 6 production. It's hosted, edited and mixed by me, Matt Dean, and you can contact me on Twitter at DublinOAFC. If you'd like to get in touch with us or contribute to the show, our email is bpalertsystem@gmail.com, and we're on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook at OAFC Podcast. If you'd like to know more about Push the Boundary, you can visit pushtheboundary.co.uk and follow them on Twitter at PTB_OAFC. The match stats are compiled and presented by Thomas Berry, and you can follow Thomas, spelled Tomos, on Twitter at Thomas Berry. The title music for the show is Delirio by Manchester DJ and producer Starion. You can visit redlaserrecords.bandcamp.com for more info and the latest releases. If you like the show, please do review and subscribe on whichever platform you listen. Thanks for listening.